Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about Honor Among Thieves. So this movie has got it has its most important job is to make Dungeons and Dragons a podium global IP, and that means top 3 global intellectual properties. Now, what are global intellectual properties? Let me give you a clue what a global intellectual property is. Something that's got a theme park. MCU, it's got its own theme park. Star Wars got a theme park, right? Harry Potter got a theme park. Okay, that's when you know you've arrived, right? And those are the 3 most powerful IPs in the world right now. Harry Potter is a burning platform. It's in a lot of trouble, and Dungeons and Dragons can take its slot, and that's what this movie can do. It can make it so that you and I care a lot about Dungeons and Dragons. We get it, right? This movie ain't about us. This is about making the rest of the world care about Dungeons and Dragons, and Hollywood can do that. Hollywood can make people care about anything they want the people to care about, right? That's what Hollywood does, and it does it better than anywhere in the world. And just like Dungeons and Dragons, Hollywood doesn't compete with it. America does not compete with any nation in the world on entertainment. It competes with the entire world at the same time and puts the entire world in the dirt, right? Like, we destroy when it comes to entertainment. We have no near peers, right? None, right? And guess what? D&D about to step up. It's getting a real Hollywood release. All right. I think Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves is going to do it. I think it's going to make Dungeons and Dragons the number 3 a podium intellectual property. I'm going to admit, it'll be the bronze, right? Like, we ain't going to overtake the MCU or Star Wars with one film, right? But we absolutely can take Harry Potter over because it's so weak right now. Like, J.K. Rowling has just set that entire IP platform on fire, and it is a hot mess. And they just finished their prequel trilogy, complete and utter garbage. I watched all of them, and I would like those hours back, please. It was really bad. So Harry Potter's in a lot of trouble, right? And I love Harry Potter, but it's time for D&D to take its place, and that's what this film can do. All right, and I'm not going to tell you the benefits of being a world-class a podium global IP. Like, you should know them, right? I'm not going to take time to explain that, why that's important, why we should have it, and why we deserve it. You got to fill in those blanks yourself. It should be obvious. All right, so I believe from the trailer that the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves is going to catapult Dungeons and Dragons into the mouths, into the hearts, into the minds of every American. Here's how, okay? And here's why I believe that from the trailer, okay? So let me give you more evidence from the trailer that this is going to happen. All right, okay, so the reason why, and I'm going to put this in Harry Potter terms. Sorry, I keep talking about Harry Potter. I genuinely love Harry Potter. Those books without a doubt, they're the best fiction books I've ever read in my life. All right. So what does the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves trailer do perfectly? Okay, it gets the Muggle wizard mix right. Okay, so when people go to see this movie, they're going to be a Muggle or they're going to be a wizard. Okay, I'm putting this in Harry Potter terms, but I think it's going to make it clear. Who's the wizards? You and me. Everybody who's ever played Dungeons & Dragons and cares about Dungeons & Dragons. And I'm not talking played twice in college and quit. I'm talking plays, right? Like, Dungeons & Dragons hardcore, knows the difference, between a skeleton and a zombie, knows the difference between a banshee and a black dragon, knows the difference between, a homunculus and a beholder, right? Like, we know. Right? Knows the difference between a fighter and a barbarian and a ranger. They're not the same thing, right? Like, and can tell you, and can talk for an hour on each one of them. Real fans, right? Like, and even more than that, real participants. We're not fans. We're not like people who go to the movies. We're participants. We are literally building these worlds. We are using Dungeons and Dragons to build worlds. We're not fans. We're more than fans. We've always been more than fans, right? So we're the wizards. Who's the muggles? Your aunt is the muggle. Your uncle is the muggle, right? People who are like, Dungeons and Dragons, I think, your cousin plays that video game. right? Like, people just don't know Dungeons and Dragons from an orange, right? Like, and there's tons of them. There's more of them than there are of us. We're just like there were more muggles than there are wizards, right? There are more, there are more people who just don't know a thing about Dungeons and Dragons. Don't know it from Game of Thrones. Don't know it from Skyrim, right? And think that Skyrim and Dungeons and Dragons are the same thing. Now, you and I know that's foolishness, right? But we need to have we need to have tolerance and respect for people who just don't understand the difference, right? And so here's the kicker. The Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie gets this mix right, okay? So you and I saw it. We saw that the wizards are going to be taken care of, right? What we're looking for is there. That's an actual owlbear. That is a red wizard of Thay, right? That is Neverwinter, right? That is a named dragon at the end, right? That is, people are saying that Gauntlgrim's in there, right? And, like, that's a tiefling druid. And that's, I think I saw proof that somebody was, I think Michelle Rodriguez's character is wearing a belt of giant strength, right? We're covered, right? There's literally text on one of the traps that is in a Dungeons & Dragons book. Like, this is like, it's hardcore, right? At the same time, though, it seems that it's very accessible to muggles, people who don't know anything about Dungeons & Dragons, right? And one of the clues for that is where others were like crying in their beer and found sorrow, I found joy and encouragement, right? The tiefling druid changes from being a horse into an owlbear into herself as a tiefling druid. All the wizards are like, whoa, slow down there, man. Owlbear's a monstrosity. You can't just be trained changing into a monstrosity. You can only change into a beast, right? And this is very important. This is a Hollywood film, right? And Hollywood was like, hey, we know you D&D wizard types need to be served some respect, right? And we're going to do that. But we're going to make this movie accessible. And if we need to break a few D&D rules to get there and make this a 4-quadrant film where anybody can come and see it, we're going to do it, right? And so, that is them breaking the rules and saying, this movie's got this thing's got to be a banger, right? This has got to hit with everybody. We don't want just this to be for people who are really, really down for D&D, because y'all can't pay us $1 billion or $2 billion or $3 billion. We need you, your aunt, your uncle, and their dog, right? Like, we need everybody, right? And that is the right mix. Proper respect where respect needs to be shown, right? It's clear that people who made this know what they're doing, right? But they also know how to make a movie. And that means you got to break with hard, gritty detail where you need to make it exciting and awesome. And when you see a tiefling druid changing from a horse into an owlbear, that's wrong according to D&D, but man, is it dope. And so that is the right mix, and that is a good solid piece of evidence why DM Bloodsworth is wrong about this movie. It is not going to suck, right? And go check the tape. I was on his show, and when I said that this thing was going to be a banger and that this was going to be huge, he laughed at me. It's on his own channel, right? He said, oh, this movie's going to be terrible, right? And he just laughed at me for thinking it was going to be good, right? This is delivering, and it's shutting a lot of people up, right? The trailer shut a lot of people up that were talking smack, right? We're going to get there. This movie is going to catapult Dungeons & Dragons to where it needs to be. Well, that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.